Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we are still talking about more of the NHL playoff series coming up, and this time we've got the Boston Bruins versus the Florida Panthers. The best built team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins, winning the President's Trophy, setting the newest record in NHL history. Just the best. This is the best built team of all time, but is the best built regular season team ever good enough for the playoffs? Well, I gotta say, they look like it. I mean, going into this playoffs, they're currently sitting at they're 9-1 in their last 10 games and are currently on an 8-game winning streak going into the playoffs. So, obviously, best NHL team ever, going in very hot, looking very good going into the playoffs. And their opponent in the first round is the Florida Panthers, a team that was looking like they were going to be out of it, but they knocked out the Pittsburgh Penguins and held on to that second wild card spot, and they are going against the best team ever, which is scary for them. Now, going into it, they are currently 6-3-1 in their last 10. They were recently on a very good winning streak. I think it got up to 6, I think 7 actually, one of the two. Pretty good, but recently they've not been on top of things, but they did fight their way into this playoff spot, and they have been looking good as of late. Watching them on that 6-game winning streak, they looked in charge of all of those games, except one against the Senators, but that was when someone I'm going to talk about a lot in this video, Alex the Lion, showed exactly why I think this team actually has a chance against the Bruins. Now, in the season series between these two teams, they both won 2 games out of them. The Bruins winning 2, losing 1 in regulation and 1 in overtime against the Panthers, and of course, meaning they are 2-2. So, pretty interesting. So the Panthers looking kind of competent playing against those games against the Boston Bruins. So their top guys leading these two teams, the two squads guys, of course we kind of know the rundown already, but the Bruins led by David Pastrnak setting 61 goals this year. 61 goals and 113 points. This guy does it all. I don't know if he's underrated or he just doesn't get enough respect from the hockey community. I mean, I know everyone knows he's great, because certain players are underrated. I feel like Mikko Rantanen might be, but everyone knows David Pastrnak is great. But I don't know if people realize just how phenomenal the guy is. 52 assists, 61 points. Unreal. Unreal. Doesn't get talked about enough for being a superstar. Whatever the hell I was trying to say. Fledged on his side, I don't know. Brad Marchand second on the team with 67 points, 21 goals, 46 assists, and Patrice Bergeron, the machine, the defensive machine, with 27 goals, 31 assists, 58 points. Now, Brad Marchand, to note, has been kind of hot as of late. Did he go on like a whole month or something like that of no goals? Kind of scary going to the playoffs, but he finally broke that the other night. So maybe that'll shake off his weird shenanigans going on there. But across the aisle from them, the Florida Panthers, Matthew Tkachuk leading this team to pick up in the offseason. 109 points, 40 goals, 69 assists. Matthew Tkachuk, this is the type of guy that I think the Panthers exactly needed for a playoff run. I've always thought that with the Calgary Flames, I think the core there, and I know Tkachuk was on it, but of Gaudreau and Lindholm, I just thought the core was not good enough. That was not a playoff team. Those were not playoff players to win. But Tkachuk was, because he's the gritty, grindy guy that can be in your team's face. Aggressive, hard-nosed, won't stop until the end. And this guy gets points too, and I think that's what Florida was missing from their playoffs last year, especially against the Lightning, is that they needed that guy who was going to shove the other team in the face, the guy that was going to rub his hand in another guy's face, go in the box, come out of the box, and go score a goal and get all the attention on him, and then everyone's circling on him trying to get the big hit. He passes the puck across the ice to Barkov to Reinhart one time and in. You know, those type of players to get the attention, get the obnoxious nature out of the guys. So Tkachuk, I think, is the player that this team needed last year that they missed. Huberdeau is not that type of guy. He's not a playoff performer either. Tkachuk is. He's going to show up. It's going to happen. Barkov, another two-way centerman. amazing player. 78 points, 23 goals, 55 assists. And Carter Verhaeghe tied with Brandon Montour, so I just decided to put Verhaeghe here because he got 42 goals this year. Underrated player once again. I think it's because it's Florida. Not a lot of press goes to the Florida teams. Carter Verhaeghe, unreal in the playoffs last season, was the only reason they really got past that first round. And here he is again, 42 goals, unrecognized player. This guy's incredible. Brandon Montour on the back end just to bring him up, 73 points as well. Amazing guy back there, not talked about just like Carter Verhaeghe. Kind of the whole Panthers squad just doesn't get enough recognition, I don't feel. The Panthers squad is so good at one thing in particular, and that's offense, and I'll cover that in a second too. Goaltending-wise, Linus Ullmark, of course, we know this, in net for the Bruins, win the William and Jennings with Jeremy Swayman for the least amount of goals scored against a team, with first in both categories of save percentage and goals against. He's got a 1.89 goals against in this season. He doesn't play every game of the season, but of the games he played, he got scored on less than 2 times per night. That is absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts to think about. And save percentage, .938. A .938. Could you imagine getting 938 of anything else in the world? Think about something that you do. Like, what if .938, 93% of anything you do anything. He does that at stopping 70 to 100 mile per hour shots. Absolutely insane to think that this guy's able to play such. I mean, I know he's not the first goalie to ever put up these type of numbers, but it's just crazy to think about how good of a goaltender, plus how good the defense of the Bruins is. On the other side, I know people are putting Bobrovsky here, but I'm putting Alex the Lion. He is absolutely phenomenal. That game he had against the Ottawa Senators, if that doesn't show you he's ready mentally for playoff hockey, I don't know what will. This guy, 6-1-1 in his last 8 games. He's played more than that, but 6-1-1 in his last 8 since March 29th, which was like 2 weeks ago. So in the last 2 weeks, this guy's on fire with a 1.87 goals against. That's even less than, I mean, I know obviously it's less, but that's incredible in 7-8 games. And a .943. This guy is playoff ready. I don't care what you say. The Panthers, they might have the St. Louis Blues in 2019 appeal to them. Going from President's Trophy, I know this is what St. Louis did, but kind of having that redemption story. President's Trophy looking like an absolute joke and mid-team the entire year, to fighting into a playoff spot and looking spectacular, all with a goaltender from the AHL showing up to give them that goaltending and looking absolutely marvelous doing it. Alex Lyon, stud in net, absolute stud, robbing teams all the time. And this is the guy that I think could lead this Panthers team to an actual playoff series win. And I would not be surprised. Now, I don't want this to seem like I think this could be like a Columbus Lightning situation. That was a once-in-history type deal. This is not a sweep situation. The problem that happened in that series is sometimes certain teams are just a good foil to another team. Columbus had their heart and soul into that series. We are all humans. They are all human beings on that team and pretty skilled human beings. And they came together and they said, you know what? We're going to play our absolute hearts off and defense and have a good goalie in net, and we're going to sweep the Lightning. And that's what they did. And the Lightning were not ready for it, right? They did not have that heart and intensity, that playoff play, that fire inside of them to do it, and the Blue Jackets did. It happens all the time in every aspect of life. Some people, some players, they band together and they show up for a game, and they showed up in 4 games in their entire careers. There's a lot of good players on that team at the time of Panarin, but this is not the same situation here. The Panthers have an actual situation where they could win this because they are a good team. Like, don't act like this isn't a good team. Kachuk, Barkov, Verhaeghe, Brandon Montour, Lyon in net. Bobrovsky was on the team that swept the Lightning. Aaron Ekblad, Reinhart. This is not a team of bad players. This was a team that has a big, big problem. The Panthers' biggest issue is, of course, goaltending and defense. They are 21st in the league. They're the lowest of all the playoff teams, I believe, in goals against with 272. 21st in the NHL. That is down there. That is down the list. But they're 6th for goals for with 288 for. Fantastic. The only issue for the Panthers is that they're facing the team that is better than them in both categories, which is hard to do with only 5 places above 6th place. The Bruins, second in the NHL in goals for 301 and 174 for the least amount of goals scored against them in the league. And it's not surprising with Lindholm, with McAvoy, and now, Orlov wasn't there the whole year, but now with Dmitry Orlov. 60 minutes of those super prime elite defensemen. Orlov, if you said that about him on Washington, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. But on this team, Orlov has been absolutely fantastic, out of this world playing. So they've got defense, goaltending, and offense on their side, and it's just incredible to see. So here, I'm kind of doing a different format for each team towards the bottom here, and for this one, I kind of want to just bring up the pros and cons in a question for these two teams. The pros for the Bruins is that they're the best team ever built, ever assembled, from top to bottom, goaltending, defense, every single line is perfectly put together and geniusly thought out about how good this team is, and is such a surprise. And also, they are built to win games. They might not be the most offensive. They're the best defensive. They're just built to win games. Maybe not every player on the team has 50 points or something, right? So, look at this. The top guys, the Panthers, their guys have more points than I think their top 5 guys have more points than their top 2 and 3 guys, right? So, sure, they might not have as many superstars, but they are built to win games, right? And it's kind of like, imagine playing any, I don't even know. But imagine having 1 gold card, and the Panthers have 7. Actually, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense, but in my head, I'm making something here. So, Bruins, best team ever to win games, and they're the best defense going into it. Best defense. Maybe not producing on offense, but defense, number 1 in the league. The cons about them, though, is that although they are amazing on offense and at winning games offensively, the Panthers might have the edge going into it. That when the playoffs are here, what if everyone on the Panthers' top 2 lines are there to show up? They have amazing offense. Last year they set a record, right? That team is still there except Huberdeau. And I would argue Tkachuk is better than Huberdeau. I know he got more points than him last year, but still, Tkachuk, I think he's more important of a player than Jonathan Huberdeau is. But the thing is, with the Panthers, is that they're so bad at defense. My hope for them is Lyon is able to stand on his head and take this opportunity to become a superstar, and maybe in I don't know when his contract is up, but go out there and get a big deal from a team and go play amazing hockey for somewhere for a bunch of money. He's given this opportunity to thrive, and he's thriving. He's looking fantastic in the games that he's played. So if Lyon stands on his head, and I know that's a lot to ask out of someone, but they've got some good defensemen back there in Montour and Aaron Ekblad and Gudis. They can play good defense. So maybe buckle down a little bit, go all offensive as well, and have Lyon just get all of those saves. And I think the Panthers have an opportunity here. If they can win the games against the Bruins. They're 2-2 against them. They can play the offensive battle. They are games, I think they were 4-3. They can go in there and score 7 goals and hopefully only get scored on 5 times. And that's kind of the key to the Panthers' success, is they need to go all offense, all out blitzkrieg style, go in there and try to just get all the points, all the goals possible. I know it's well, duh, that's what every team needs to do. But forget about the defense, because you're not going to beat them there. Go out all offense, and hopefully the Bruins buckle. Bad thing is, the Bruins have the best defense in the NHL. All 60 minutes is going to be a hard game to play against them. The Panthers, they got probably a lot of weak ends towards the bottom of their team, and the Bruins are just so deep, so stacked, that it's going to be a very hard battle for them to win those. But that is kind of just a small bit of a rundown there. So the Panthers, have a hard battle. They have a hard battle, and between the two, I definitely see the Bruins winning this one. The thing is, I think the Panthers, being a glass cannon, being an all-offensive team, could be a crack to beat the Bruins. I mean, think about it. When you play a video game out there, if you're playing, I don't know what game to think of, but if you're playing a game, there's like specialist class, right? Or there's general classes. Well, how do you beat a generalist, an all-around player? You got to beat them at one technique, right? You got to overcome them with one. And that could be the situation here. The Bruins could play rock and scissors. Maybe the Panthers are the perfect paper to overcome their rock. I don't know what that means, but in some analogy that means something. So that is all I have to say. So thank you for watching. Oh, my prediction, Bruins are probably going to win this one. I think that the Panthers would not be as surprising to me if they did win, but I think this goes to the Bruins. But that is all I have to say. Thank you for watching this, and if you've made it this far, please, I'm begging you, please pick up your free subscription down below. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.